I'm Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast with a female Emperor Palpatine. Because this week we watched The Brain of Morbius.
Written by Robin Bland, which is just a pseudonym for Terrance Dicks and Robert Holmes.
Was directed by Christopher Barry.
And aired in January and just January of 1976. Used to it airing over 2 months. But no, not this time.
Well, I mean, it's only 4 episodes, so if they time it right, they could conceivably fit it into 1 month.
Yeah, they usually don't, though.
I mean, I don't think they do that intentionally. I think it just kind of happens.
Of course not.
Yeah. I mean, unless there's some, BBC master controller, we must air everything over 2 months. But anyway, so the serial begins. There's storms going. It looks like it's at nighttime, but there's an alien kind of running around like a maniac before dying in the storm, I suppose. Then a hulking large figure named Kondo takes his head back to his master at the little lab hideout thing.
Right, his master, the young Roger Delgado, looks like a younger version of Roger Delgado. And
with longer hair.
And he's Solon, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, Solon.
And he needs a head. We don't know why at this point. He has a perfectly good head of his own. Kondo's got a head. Maybe he just wants to get ahead in life.
Wow. Just wow.
Anyway, the alien that Kondo gets for him is, well, they mention it's a mutt, and I don't know, maybe it's the same mutt from the Mutants.
Maybe.
My favorite Third Doctor serial.
Maybe they developed space travel.
Maybe it's Jesus.
Well, anyway.
The TARDIS materializes.
Right, and the Doctor comes blundering out, yelling at the Time Lords about throwing his TARDIS off course. And so, I mean, like I briefly hinted at last week, they don't kind of just ignore the fact that Sarah's trying to get to London. Kind of just explain it away as the Time Lords interfering again. Admittedly, a pretty weak explanation.
Yeah, something blows them off course every week, so there you go. I guess this is the Fourth Doctor equivalent of the First Doctor. There's a force field around the TARDIS, and we can't get in. But I'm still going to stand by my prediction that she leaves next week.
Yeah, I actually agree with that prediction. I'm fairly certain she leaves next week. And this is probably the first time we've been able to definitively predict when a companion can leave, because they've actually led up to it for once.
Anyway, the Doctor is kind of mad, and he just wants to sit down on a rock and play with a yo-yo. But Sarah wants to go exploring, and I guess in sort of a switching of roles here, usually the companion is the one who's like, let's just leave, and the Doctor's like, no, let's go explore.
Doctor probably doesn't want to give the Time Lords the satisfaction of helping them out. I mean, he does kind of hate them.
As do some others in this serial, as we soon find out. Because there's a weird cult in this serial.
Oh yeah, the Sisterhood of the Flame.
Right, and this was really creepy. I think they first appear here.
I think around
soon.
Well, the Doctor and Sarah go to investigate, then they appear because they think the Doctor was sent by the Time Lords, which he was. So basically it's revealed that this cult has some sort of elixir of life that makes them immortal, and it's created by this flame that they just hide in the cupboard.
Right, it's their sacred flame, and, they also say it gives them all their other powers or whatever.
I call it telepathy.
And they have this leader who looks super old and like a female version of Emperor Palpatine. And then there's Ohika,
yeah,
I think her name was, who's sort of like the second in command or whatever, and then there's everyone else.
Everyone else.
And I don't know, they were very, very creepy, I thought. I thought they were actually kind of scary even. They have this weird hissing there's a tendency.
Fire,
yeah.
Sacred flame.
and death. Kind of like the Ice Warriors, come to think of it. Well, the early Ice Warriors. But yeah, they were interesting, and their costuming was really interesting too.
They also hinted at a deeper backstory than we saw on screen. They mentioned that they've been sharing the elixir of life with the Time Lords for centuries.
Yeah.
And that they have some sort of alliance or friendship with the Time Lords. But Wirrn believes that the Doctor was sent by the Time Lords to steal the lost of the elixir because their flame is going out, so they're not going to have any more elixir.
Right. We find out why their flame is going out pretty soon. And, they also mention that they're the only... Well, they say the Time Lords are the only race in the universe on par with their mental capacity.
Yeah.
Which means that they're the only race in the universe on par with the Time Lords' mental capacity.
Yeah. That's how the property works.
So, yeah, we don't exactly see that.
Well, they transport the TARDIS using telepathy, so...
Yeah. There's that mental battle later in this serial, but not with them.
Yeah, the Doctor and Sarah... Well, it starts raining, and the Doctor's got an umbrella somehow. I don't know where he pulled that out of. Probably one of his pockets, to be honest.
He pulls something out of his hair later in this serial.
Yeah, firecracker.
Yeah.
But they show up at Solin's place, and he's like, can we come in for, tea or something? It's kind of raining out here. And Solin lets them in.
Well, he sees the Doctor's head, and he's like, this is the head I've been looking for, so he lets them in.
It's the head that was sent to me by Jesus, the mutt from earlier. So they sit down.
And Solon immediately drugs them.
He drugs the wine, which Sarah doesn't drink. I guess she doesn't drink wine.
Right, she sort of pours it into this other little cup while he's not looking. And I don't blame her, because it looks like it would kill you. It's this deathly green color.
There's green wine. It's like white wine, but green.
Yeah, well, this was like neon green wine.
Actually, that might not even be wine if it's that green.
It might have just been Capri Sun. I don't know.
There is a green alcohol. I don't know what it's called, but it exists. There's every color alcohol at this point, I think.
Yeah, maybe it's probably just due to green food coloring, but yeah.
Yeah, so
whatever.
He drugs it, or it's revealed later he tells Kondo to drug it, but
right.
Semantics.
And I think it's kind of revealed here, or maybe just a little later, but we'll just say it now, that Kondo is in the service of Solon because he saved him. Well, he saved his life and amputated his arm, apparently, and replaced it with a hook. And Kondo has been serving him in the hopes that he can one day get his arm back.
Yeah. So that's another subplot that the serial has going.
Yep.
So Solon takes the Doctor down into his spooky secret cave of
his Frankenstein
surgery.
lab, because the serial was clearly based on Frankenstein.
Yeah. But he takes him down to a secret spooky surgery cave while Sarah has pretended to get knocked out when she saw the Doctor kind of pass out. So she's exploring now, and then Solon gets distracted for something and leaves the room, and then the Doctor gets transported to the Sisterhood of the Flame because, like I said, they believe that he's a Time Lord that was sent by the Time Lords to steal the elixir, so they decide to telepathically move him to their hideout.
Right, they do the same thing with the TARDIS, and their way of doing it is just having the Elder Marin, I think her name was, sit in the middle of they encircle her, and they just chant, "Sacred fire, sacred flame," for a long time.
And then, kabam, it moves. Sarah ends up stumbling into the surgery room, moves aside a curtain thinking it's the Doctor, and it's not. It's a weird Frankenstein body.
Right, with a crab claw hand for one of its hands, and a human hand for the other hand. Made for maximum efficiency.
That's what they say later, like Solon designed for maximum efficiency. I don't know what kind of efficiency that claw hand is getting you.
He doesn't even use it to put anything in a grip of death. He just bludgeons things with it.
No, doesn't he strangle the lady with it later?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Well,
anyway, the doctor is sentenced to death after an explanation of what's going on.
Yeah, the doctor's like, I don't know what you're talking about, guys. I don't know why I'm here. Don't know how I got here. I'm not here to steal your elixir.
But obviously they don't believe it.
I don't know why I would.
And they mention that the sacred flame is getting low, and the doctor's like, well, that's just due to natural, scientific, volcanic, plate tectonic activity and stuff.
Yeah, he said the whole elixir was scientific, caused by the reaction between the flame and the inside of the cave, and he said, someone found it, they could probably mass produce this. And he's like, yeah, but I won't tell anyone. Meanwhile, Sarah, after screaming to make the cliffhanger interesting, kind of just walks away really calmly. She just turns around and walks away. I even made a note of it. I was like, she's really calm for this.
The doctor does that later, too. He just, peeks behind the curtains like, oh, just closes it and kind of just goes about his business. But, yeah.
Yeah. I think Sarah gets captured by Kondo and Solon?
Solon?
No, actually, Solon. Yeah,
to...
Solon runs away because he's heard the doctor was captured by the Sisterhood.
Right, and...
Or he believes him to be.
Yeah, and he knows that they perform, sacrifices, so...
To the flame, yes.
I don't know, but, I guess he wants to just go get the doctor's head, make sure they don't burn his head before he can use it. So, but they're about to burn the doctor at the stake. They actually do set the fire. And,
yeah, not before Sarah has wandered in, taken some wire cutters out of the doctor's pockets and cut the rope that he was being tied with, but...
Right, and this part really makes me question how smart the sisters of the flame are, because Sarah's just wearing this ratty old pink robe. Meanwhile, the rest of them are wearing intricately detailed red and gold costumes with tassels and stuff. They're sort of dancing around the doctor, who's...
The doctor's funeral pyre.
Yeah, basically. They're all holding these lit candles. Sarah's holding an unlit candle. She blatantly sticks out like a sore thumb, yet no one seems to notice. But whatever. Maybe they just didn't have another costume to use, so they threw a vaguely red robe onto her.
Solon fails at bidding for the doctor's head and then goes back.
It's kind of pathetic, actually. He busts in, he's like, wait, stop everything. And Martin is like, what are you doing here, Solon?
He tries to play the I've helped you for all these years and now I only ask for one thing card. But it doesn't work.
Yeah, they don't want to not sacrifice the doctor. And then Solon gets desperate and he's like, wait, take Kondo instead. And Kondo's just like, what? Are you kidding me, Solon?
It wasn't as funny when I was watching.
No, it wasn't.
So, Solon and Kondo go back to their secret base thing. And Kondo's like, were you really going to sacrifice me? Guess I'm going to kill you now. Except in more broken English than...
Yeah. So he takes out a knife. Well, he starts to use his hook, and then he takes out the knife. I don't know why he just didn't want to use the hook in the first place, but...
You can't stabs with the hook. You'd have to, do a weird curve stab.
I guess.
I mean, I guess you could. Never mind.
But then Solon makes it out alive by saying he'll replace Kondo's arm immediately, which he doesn't.
Yeah, by feebly spitting out some diplomacy about his arm.
Meanwhile, Sarah and the doctor have made their way out in the confusion.
Not without Sarah getting zapped by Martin's magic ring that never appears in the serial again.
Well, she tries to use it and then doesn't.
Yeah. But Sarah's blind now. So...
Yeah.
I just want to note that Elizabeth Sladen is really bad at acting a blind character.
Which, I mean, I'm not going to hold against her. I guess it would be pretty
Yeah.
hard for any non-blind person to pretend to be blind. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold it against her, but it felt a bit jarring.
Well, I mean, when you're watching it, you're obviously thinking, like, yeah, she can see right now. And, I mean, when she undoes those ropes around her neck later, she can clearly see them. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Doctor and Sarah head back to Solon for some reason, even though he's out for the Doctor's head, literally.
Because the Doctor wants Solon to examine Sarah's eyes. Also, the Doctor believes Morbius to be alive. There was a humorous scene earlier where the Doctor was talking to Marn and is like, oh yeah, Solon and Morbius are in that house thing. And Marn's like, Morbius is dead. And the Doctor's like, oh yes, he is. I wonder how I got that impression. But yeah, so spoiler, Morbius isn't dead. Oh, so the Doctor and Sarah go back to Solon because he wants...
The Doctor wants Solon to look
yeah.
at Sarah and see if he can do anything, I guess, about her eyesight.
Yeah, and he also wants to see if Morbius is still alive, which, like we said, spoiler, he is. Apparently, his body was dispersed through a dispersal unit. Marn was there when he was killed. And
Right, he was drawn and quartered to the 9 corners of the universe. They didn't say he was drawn and quartered. That's a little gruesome, but he was spread to the 9.
Dispersed.
Yeah. We don't really know who Morbius is yet.
We know he's a Time Lord. Marn mentions that he was a Time Lord.
Right, but they sort of explain who he is gradually, which was interesting. And I mean, it worked better than... I guess it worked better having you gradually find out who he was, or having you figure out who he was, rather than them just flat out explaining it for like 3 minutes. But
Pretty much.
yeah, Morbius is still alive in some capacity.
His brain is, at least. Somehow. Don't know how. Because they dispersed his body to 9 galaxies.
Solon's keeping it alive in a vat of his green wine.
Or maybe Morbius is just drunk for the whole time.
Maybe he was not actually a bad guy. He's just
drunk. Drunk on that powerful green wine.
Anyway,
Or the Doctor and Sarah are just drinking Morbius brain juice.
oh god. Ugh.
Right, so anyway, Solon examines Sarah and says that it's permanent. There's a very
But it's
slim
not.
chance. Yeah, he's totally lying. Although
Or-
it's actually questionable whether he's lying at this point.
Well, he's either lying or he's wrong.
Yeah, possibly.
He's either lying or he's just a hack, and I'm more inclined to believe the latter.
Yeah, but I'd say, like, right at this point, you think it conceivable at this point that Sarah might actually be blinded and then the Doctor might actually have to steal the elixir of life to fix her.
Or that she just might be blinded for the rest of her run.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would.
And it's terrifying and sad, but...
But no, that doesn't happen.
Spoiler. The Doctor's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go get some elixir of life now, bye. And he goes to the Sisterhood and leaves Sarah with Solon and Kondo. I think he threatens
Right.
to kill Solon if anything happens to Sarah or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't see any other way that he'd leave Sarah there if he didn't threaten one of them.
He follows through on his threats later, too. But anyway,
He's a man of his word.
Solon goes down into his basement where he's keeping Morbius's brain in a vat full of green fluid. And Morbius's brain, even though it's in no position to be, is really snarky and angry at everyone.
Like we said, he's probably just drunk.
Right, but he sort of tells Solon off for not preparing the body and earlier, but Solon says he's found the perfect head.
Yeah.
And the body we saw earlier with the one crab claw, that's obviously the body he had prepared for Morbius.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's like, well, I'll just go get the Doctor's head now, even though he's not here anymore. And after he leaves, Sarah stumbles down into the basement, and episode 2 ends with Morbius screaming at Sarah.
Yeah, he thinks she's one of the Sisterhood of the Flame. So he kind of goes, "They sent you here, didn't you? Yes, they did! Yes, they did!" Almost like a Dalek.
Yeah, actually.
And that's how episode 2 ends. Sarah going, no, they didn't. Not really that much of a cliffhanger, because what's a brain in a jar gonna do to Sarah?
Who knows? Maybe it has super telekinetic brain powers.
It's a Time Lord. It's the brain of a Time Lord.
Yeah, but he doesn't. so no, yeah, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and episode 3 begins. Solon sends Kondo with a letter to the Sisterhood and then goes down into his basement, sees Sarah there, kind of shoves her out of the room, and then Sarah, somehow, while she's blind, locks Solon into the room. And I'm guessing I hated on Elizabeth Sladen for playing blind really poorly earlier. Might just be the things they were having her do while she's blind.
Maybe.
Because none of them really make sense for someone who's just gone blind. I mean, someone who's been blind for a while will be used to it and can do that, but...
Yeah.
Especially when Sarah starts because now she kind of wanders outside. She just goes outside and somehow doesn't kill herself on all the cliffs that are just hanging around.
Yeah, actually. Come to think of it, yeah, she wanders through the wilderness for a little bit and nothing bad happens.
But before we reconvene with her, we see Kondo get to the Sisterhood with the letter, and he gives it to them, and Marion's like, "Oh, that fool Solon is still trying to bargain for the Doctor's head. He claims to have tricked him in coming here to steal the elixir." But the Doctor isn't really, actually. He gets there and he gets captured, and he's like, if I was coming here to steal with you, why would I come through the front door? Like, why would I kind of just walk up to you guys like this?
They want to kill him anyway, and I think he says that he'll take a look at their flame or whatever in exchange for
he somehow
killing him.
Convinces Marin to let him look at the flame with Ohika, I think was her name.
Yeah.
Ohika, who keeps doing the wide-eyed glare at things the whole serial.
Yeah, and the crossed hands thing, which I think they all did.
Also, the pyramid hand thing, when instead of saying okay at one point, she does the pyramid hand thing and runs away.
Yeah.
But the Doctor looks at the flame and he reveals that it looks just like it's been clogged up by some soot, so he drops a firecracker down the flame's hole.
Which he stored in his hair, interestingly enough.
Yeah, and the flame goes out, and then they all want to kill him again, and then the flame starts up again, super bright, burning. I forgot to mention that they've actually taken the last of the elixir, so even if the Doctor wanted any, there isn't any left because they gave it all to all the sisters except for Marin. Marin didn't take any.
Yeah.
We also get a bit more backstory on the Sisterhood now because the Doctor reveals that the elixir keeps them immortal in the state they were when they first took the elixir. So Marin was that old when she took the elixir. So he says to her something like, "How long have you been this old? 400 years? 500? And then we also get backstory on the Time Lords. The Doctor reveals that they only ask for the elixir in times of great need. Specifically, if a Time Lord has difficulty regenerating, the elixir can help them regenerate. And he says that's mainly the only time they ever really need it, because if they took it, then they would be the same as the Sisterhood and trapped immortal for basically forever.
Yep, we also hear a little bit more about Morbius, I think.
Yeah.
We find out that he sort of a renegade, like
basically
the Doctor.
A criminal overlord, to be honest.
Who amassed a large following under his ideas. I don't know what his ideas were.
Death to the Time Lords? I don't know. He went renegade, and the Time Lords hated him for some reason, probably because he advocated for killing all of them.
Solon apparently was one of his followers. I mean, that's what you would assume.
Yeah, Solon was apparently on the planet when Morbius got dispersed, I guess, is the term they use.
Right, the planet's called Karn, I think it was? Or
Karn.
Karn?
K-A-R-N. Comes back later in the reboot, in a very important scene, but we'll get that eventually.
But yeah.
Yeah, so that's how, presumably how Solon got Morbius's brain, Still
guess he
really
just-
don't understand how Morbius's brain survived, and that's the one plot point that's kind of really weak for this serial.
I don't really think it needs to be explained. His brain's there, it's alive, and they have to stop his resurrection, so...
I mean, they wouldn't have to explain it if they didn't make such a big point of saying Morbius is dead. There's no way Morbius can be alive. We dispersed him with our technology that should wipe out any trace of a person.
I guess. Maybe they just forgot his brain.
Well, anyway, the Doctor fixes the flame, and they're like, oh, thanks, Doctor. And then I guess he collaborates with them with some plan. He basically has them deliver him back to Solon, trying to convince Solon that he's dead. Meanwhile, cutting back to Sarah, Sarah has been found by Kondo. Kondo reveals that he's a bit infatuated with Sarah.
Yep.
I don't think she's into hook hands.
But yeah, he takes her back to the lab, mansion, building, whatever it is.
You don't really know what it is. Oh yeah, we also learned that the Sisterhood is the reason all the spaceships are crashed. We forgot to mention right at the beginning when they landed, the Doctor and Sarah, that is, they found basically a graveyard of spaceships, and they were wondering where they all came from. And it's revealed now-ish that the Sisterhood has basically been crashing spaceships into the planet. Because any spaceship that comes near is obviously automatically hostile, so they just crash them into the planet.
Yeah, I think they just assumed any spaceship that came near Karn was a Time Lord out to be mad at them. I don't know.
Which is why they were surprised when the Doctor arrived, because they hadn't seen his spaceship, the police box, coming in. Because it's a TARDIS
Right.
and can materialize. Yeah, so anyway, it takes Sarah back, and Morbius is getting impatient, so Solon reveals that he once worked on an artificial brain case, which he abandoned because there's problems with static buildup, which you think would come into play later, but doesn't really.
No, and, well, Morbius is super impatient now, so he just tells Solon to do it anyway. So Solon reluctantly says okay, and he gets down to work.
But then Kondo discovers that the Morbius body has his arm on, and he goes kind of into rage, accidentally knocks Morbius's brain onto the floor.
Yeah.
And then Solon shoots Kondo.
Yeah, like 4 times, and Kondo lives. Like, this guy's resilient. Like, he gets shot in the gut like 3 or 4 times and just lives.
Yeah, but you don't know he lives till episode 4. So episode 3 ends, Solon has to enlist Sarah now to help him revive Morbius,
Right,
since Kondo's dead.
Right, because he needs another set of hands, and he thinks Kondo's dead, and, well, Kondo really only had 1 hand anyway, so...
Even though Sarah's blind, so he's like, just keep pumping this every 3 seconds, and if Morbius dies, you die. So he's like, okay. So she does that, and at the very end of episode 3, with the Doctor's body upstairs, Morbius comes to life behind Sarah, as Sarah regains her eyesight. So it's revealed that it was temporary, and Solon was just being a lying dick, I guess.
Or just didn't know. We don't really know, and I guess it doesn't really matter, but I think...
No, I think he does, because I think Marn says later, when Marn gets the letter, she says, but Solon has to know that the effects of the ring are only temporary. Or she says it to the Doctor. Which...
Yeah, she says it earlier, so we know it's temporary before her eyesight actually comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Morbius is revived into episode 4 in his weird body with the head being, Sarah mentions it's like a goldfish bowl, and yeah, it kind of is. Just 2 clear plastic pieces stuck together with some eye stalks sticking out.
Pretty terrifying, actually, this half claw, half hand, clear brain thing.
Yep. Solon makes a big deal about how there might be damage to Morbius's brain, and maybe there is, because he goes on a rampage.
Yes, well, Solon also says he didn't really finish the procedure, since Solon seems to be, not Solon, Morbius seems to be acting only on animal instinct right now, so he enlists the Doctor because he thought it funny that the Doctor's body would arrive just as he finished putting Morbius's body together, but then the Doctor reveals he's not actually dead. And he enlists the Doctor to go after Morbius, who kills a Sisterhood member.
Right.
I guess Morbius hates the Sisterhood too, which makes sense. The Sisterhood has said that Morbius was one of their great enemies.
Yeah. Or he's just out to kill everyone.
Yeah, Solon has a stun gun, so they eventually catch him. Meanwhile, Ohika's like, Morin, one of the sisters has been killed. And Morin's like, who did this? Ohika's like, well, we saw some monster just kind of lumbering around nearby. Also, the Doctor and Solon were chasing after it, and Morin's like, oh yeah, I guess Solon actually did revive Morbius. Guess you should go do something now, girls. So the Doctor gets Morbius back to the place and tells Solon that if he doesn't kill Morbius, then the Doctor will do it himself or something.
Yeah, something like that. But Solon's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But he locks the Doctor and Sarah down in the basement.
Yeah.
And decides to go back on his word and just try and finish the procedure and have Morbius actually come back in his full capacity. Or something like that.
Yeah, and the Doctor and Sarah fret about being stuck. Sarah's like, oh, sonic screwdriver. The Doctor's like, oh yeah, I left it in the TARDIS. Sarah's like, darn.
But then they find some spray bottles, mix every chemical in the room, and bust through. No.
I mean, kind of. They find some cyanide and mix it into cyanide gas, and they somehow find a vent that conveniently leads straight from the basement into Solon's operating room for some reason.
So the Doctor decides to kill Solon, even though he's like the only one who could possibly unlock the door.
Well, I think he wants... I think his plan was to at least get Solon uncomfortable enough to not be able to finish the surgery, so he has to come down and open the door to investigate what's coming through the vent.
Yeah, well, that doesn't work because Solon just dies immediately. He literally just falls dead at the surgery table.
But Morbius has been revived in his full capacity now, and he comes down and taunts the Doctor about not being able to kill him because he has the lungs of some alien that is resistant to cyanide.
Convenient. He also mentions that his body has been crafted for full efficiency, even though it's a lumbering mess.
It's like it's a hodgepodge of every alien that ever crashed on the planet thanks to the sisterhood, so I don't know how he was designed for efficiency.
And a plastic head that was used as a last resort.
Like just random pieces of bodies thrown together. Kondo tried to stop Morbius at some point too, but got himself killed. Probably right when he went on a rampage, so...
Poor Kondo. Saddest death of this serial, actually.
Of this serial, yeah. But that's not saying much, because even then it wasn't that sad of a death.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
So the Doctor and Morbius kind of chat a bit about Time Lords, and then the Doctor challenges him to mind warping. Terrible name. And it's revealed they just have like a mind warp machine just hanging out in Solon's basement.
Was that what it was? I thought they were just leaning against some shelf.
Well, the Doctor's like, we have all the technology we need right here, and I imagined he was gonna like build some sort of machine, but no, it's just the whole machine is just hanging out in the basement. So Sarah's like, what's mind warping? And the Doctor's like, oh yeah, it's Time Lord wrestling, usually results in death.
And basically what it is they're leaning, you think it's gonna be some mental battle or some cool trippy
Might be behind
sequence
the
or whatever.
scenes.
Yeah, well, all they do is show the faces of the production crew on screen for a couple seconds.
Well, they show the previous faces of the Doctor. They show Potey, Troughton, and Hartnell first. And then they kind of cut away, and then they come back and show 4 random production crew members.
I guess are supposed to be Morbius's regenerations. That's what I assumed.
That's what I assumed. Apparently there was a controversy when the serial came out. So like, oh no, maybe the first Doctor's not actually the first Doctor. Like, these are probably the faces of the Doctor beforehand, because Morbius, during the mind warp, is like, how long have you lived, Doctor? But don't know how they get that interpretation, because there's a very definitive cut right after they see Hartnell, because they see Hartnell, then it cuts to a wide shot of the Doctor and Sarah, and then cuts back to the production crew. Like, I assumed both the first time I watched it and this time that it was the faces of Morbius.
Yeah, I didn't even think that it could possibly be, more of the Doctor's regenerations until I read that, like,
Yeah.
Well, why did people think that?
Probably because it made sense to them. Apparently, later in the Fourth Doctor's run, they confirm that this Doctor is the Fourth Doctor. So
Yeah, well, maybe because of this, so...
yeah.
Yeah, but the Doctor loses.
What does he? I think it almost comes out in the draw because Morbius's side kind of shocks and sparks, and the Doctor kind of just collapses. So I feel like it came out as a stalemate because now Morbius goes back into animal instinct mode and is unable to talk for the rest of the serial.
I guess it's somewhat of a stalemate, but I think the
felt
Doctor
like a
still
stalemate.
goes into like his sort
His
of
coma, I guess.
semi-comatose state.
And Morbius kind of runs outside, right into the Sisterhood of the Flame, with flames, and kind of just run Morbius off a cliff, assuming that'll kill him. I mean, if the dispersal didn't kill him, why would falling off a cliff kill him?
Maybe his brain is finally gone for once and for all, but we don't know.
I mean, he comes back in the audio dramas.
Not surprised. But yeah, that puts an end to him for now, at least, so...
Yeah.
Yay, but the Doctor's still dead, so...
Or in a coma or something. The Sisterhood kind of gathers him up and hauls him back to the cult shrine. And Wirrn decides to sacrifice herself to the flame and gives the last of the elixir that had just been generated, I guess, by the new flame to the Doctor to save the Doctor.
Yeah, even though according to the Doctor it could have just generated more elixir. She didn't actually have to sacrifice herself. But she does, so thanks, Wirrn.
Well, she didn't take any earlier when all the other sisters took, so...
Yeah.
She may have been too late for her to take it anyway.
Yeah, maybe she just wanted to die. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seemed like she'd been alive for a really long time.
I also, I agree with that. I mean, when the Doctor pointed out she's been old for, like, ever.
Yeah.
She might have been like, oh yeah, kind of sick and tired of this. I'm just gonna die now, guys.
Yeah, we see her Force ghost in the flame.
So she is an Emperor Palpatine.
Yes.
The Doctor gives Ohika, who I guess is the new matron of the flame, a pack of firecrackers. She says something like, "There's writing on these, Doctor. Is it a Time Lord spell? What are these?" And the Doctor from inside the TARDIS yells like, "Firecrackers!" And she's like, how do they work? And he's like, "Light the blue thing and stand back." And then the TARDIS goes up in a bang and a flash of smoke instead of just phasing out like it usually does.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why it did that.
Doctor might have just wanted to give some showmanship. Or next serial is gonna be them landing somewhere random again, and that explosion was the TARDIS faltering.
I guess that would be quite interesting. But yeah, I'd say this was probably the best serial of this season so far.
I still think Pyramids of Mars was better. I liked Pyramids of Mars more than I liked this serial, but I did enjoyed this serial.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the Sisterhood of the Flame. Their costuming and their acting was just really creepy and cool. And them having some relation with the Time Lords and the Doctor was nice instead of just being some random one-shot alien race. So there you go. Morbius was, well, he was an okay villain. Paired with Solon as his blubbering henchman, I guess he was sort of a cool villain.
Yeah. Kind of just a... just another renegade Time Lord. I mean, it's not the Master.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see another Time Lord, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been getting a lot of mentions of Time Lords, I guess, during the Fourth Doctor's run, so I feel like that's a conscious effort by at least Hinchcliffe and Holmes to try and establish more of the Doctor's home planet and backstory. Yeah,
speaking of Hinchcliffe and Holmes, this serial is really dark.
Yeah, unsurprisingly.
But I felt this was more so than what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, besides Pyramids of Mars, probably I'd say this is the darkest serial so far. I mean, in Pyramids of Mars, everybody the Doctor met died, so... you know. But other than that, I guess it was just a good serial. Don't really have much more to say.
Yeah, didn't exactly notice music. I guess there was some creepy stuff going on while the Sisterhood was chanting at some point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, other than that, good serial.
Yeah, the fact that Morbius comes back in the audio dramas just made me realize that the entire Eighth Doctor audio dramas is basically just the greatest hits of the Doctor rehashed. Because in the same season, there's the 8-leg two-parter as well.
Now that's what I call Doctor Who 57. And on that note,
Email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, lyrics for the new release. Now that's what I call Doctor Who 58. Check us out on iTunes and check us out on YouTube, both at Trust Your Doctor. And I guess we'll see next week if Sarah actually does go out.
Yeah. Check us out on Facebook, like us on Facebook, and Trust Your Doctor. Follow us on Twitter at TYD Podcast. And yeah, next week we find out if Sarah goes out or not in the Seeds of Doom. But until then, the end.